Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is a blue collar wine show where I always want you to remember that wine is not a mystery, it's just a beverage. And I thought I'd just take a few minutes and talk about why I even started doing this. This is episode number 30 for me. I just had a fun time with my buddy Mike Burns yesterday. We did an episode where we blind tasted several wines, trying to see which line of wine was better than the other. We both agreed on what we liked and didn't like. Thought that was a pretty awesome show. It was a little longer, but you know, sometimes they're going to be a little bit longer. When I first thought about doing these videos, I had watched a few videos from other people, and going way back, I always enjoyed sharing wine with other people. Drinking wine alone is not nearly as fun, although I do like to drink wine with my meals. I'm sure you do too. You know, it's not the same to have a great bottle of wine and just drink it by yourself. There's so much joy, so much satisfaction in sharing it with someone who appreciates wine, or even somebody who doesn't really understand wine and they taste that one bottle and they go, wow, that was a really good bottle of wine. Throughout my years at the store, I've really enjoyed helping people to find wines that fit their palate. I've worked really hard to understand each and every one of my customers' likes and dislikes. I've encouraged them to expand out a little bit on certain occasions so that they can try new things. I conducted a monthly tasting at a community center here on the island, where for just $5 people can come in and taste several wines. And I've watched people come to these things for better than a year, and I've watched people that came and didn't understand a lot about wine, and now they understand their palate, they're willing to try new things. Call me sentimental, but I mean, for whatever reason, it really makes me happy to watch people expand their palates, learn about wine, and understand the vast intricacies of that wine world. But it isn't mysterious. It doesn't have to be mysterious. Like with anything, you can enjoy it without getting all into the details of everything. There's only a few, well, there's more than a few, but there's some of us that want to go further than that. We want to look at geography and places where the wine comes from and understand those types of things. But you don't have to know those things to enjoy a bottle of wine, to understand what a good wine is, what elements of a wine make it either a good or bad wine. And even with that, wine is so subjective, so subjective. I tasted a wine a few days ago. It, in my opinion, was one of the worst wines I've tasted in a long time. It was way out of balance, way too much wood. There were two of us there. The other person tried it, totally agreed with me, and then a young guy doesn't know a lot about wine said, you know, I actually kind of like that wine. You know, I couldn't argue with him. I mean, I told him I didn't understand how he could like it, but I did understand, in a way, that there would be some people who might like that style of wine. So that's how wine is. And when you come to appreciate that, you don't get your feelings hurt if somebody says, I don't like a wine that you really like, or somebody likes a wine that you hate. That's okay. It really is. What I'm here to do is just to help guide you. I don't like to see people waste their money. And based on the descriptions, and that's why descriptors are so important, and I really feel strongly about that. If you can describe a wine to somebody and in a real way, tell them what they're in for, they can decide for themselves. You can decide for yourselves if you're going to like that wine or not. So try and follow, in other words, try and understand what I'm trying to relay to you about the wine, and then you can say, well, he doesn't like that wine, but you know the last wine he didn't like, I liked. So maybe if he doesn't like the next wine, I'll like it. Or because he described the wine this way or that way, those are things I like about a wine, so I'm going to try that wine. That's why I like the A through F system. I mean, I gave that last wine I talked about an F, and I gave it an F because I didn't think it was a $14 bottle of wine, and it was all wood and very awkward. And I believe there's very, very few people that would like to waste their money or would feel comfortable about wasting their money on that bottle of wine. I don't even think you could age properly. But that being said, try and understand, if you follow any critic, whether it's Tanzer or Robert Parker Jr. or you follow the Wine Spectator or the Wine Enthusiast, whatever it is, make sure that you follow what they're saying about the wine. And especially be careful with magazines that have advertising, heavy advertising. I'm just saying. You know, I mean, I know these guys really love the wine world. They love wine. They try to do their best, but you know, just be careful with those wines. You know, just be careful. Today, I've had 4 Cabernet Sauvignons from all different parts of the, different parts of the world and different parts of the United States. Cabernet Sauvignon is still the #1 selling red wine in the United States. And most people that drink wine and want to graduate to a red wine will eventually try a cab because you know they feel like, well, cab's the king. And you know, I'm a fan of Cabernet Sauvignon, but I'm a fan of many other wines. And really, the success of a cab is the fruit source. Like with any wine, is a fruit source, where it was, where it was grown. Is the area good for cab? Is it not good for cab? Those are all very important factors when you're looking for a Cabernet Sauvignon. Napa Valley obviously is a great place for cab. Washington State makes some really good Cabernet Sauvignon. Of course, Bordeaux, some of the best cabs based wines in the world come from Bordeaux. At least a lot of people think so. And I find there's some good cabs from Argentina, Chile. Occasionally you'll find one from Australia that kind of stands out. So they can come from all places, but really there's some places that are better than others. We're going to start off with a Cabernet from Chile, Valle Central, Chile, 2010, Calina Cabernet Sauvignon. Take a look at the label here. This one rolls in at $11, so it's it's a good price. If you want just a cab for every day, it is a great price point. But the key is, are you going to get $11 worth of cab? Let's see. First of all, let's see what we get on the nose. So this is very earthy on the nose. I get a lot of some earthy forest floor components. A little bit of stink. I didn't get a meaty element like a stewed meat. And then there's some perfume like rose petal and definitely some currant and cherry notes coming through. So I like the nose. Before I taste it though, headlined in the Seattle Times, Super Bowl champion Seahawks, I'm saving this one. What an amazing game. I know you're probably sick and tired of me talking about it, but it's so nice to have your home team win the Super Bowl. It doesn't happen very often, and I hope it happens again soon, but you never know, so I'm saving this. This is a gem. Congratulations to the Seahawks. Awesome job. So I like the nose on this. It's got a little bit of New World action, but it's got some Old World. I know Chile is not Old World. But they have some old world producers. So a lot of the Bordeaux guys have gone to Chile and started wineries there because they see the value of the fruit. Well, there's nothing old world about the palate. Certainly it's got a nice juicy fruit, fairly fruit forward. It's got a lot of currants and cherry notes, a little blackberry action going on. It's got good acidity. I mean, it's a little brighter on the palate. Yeah, it doesn't go all jammy on you, but it is fruit forward. It's actually delicious. I mean, it's got a little bit of a leathery kind of rose petal tobacco on the backside, but basically from front to back, this baby has got good fruit. If you want a cab that's fruity, that has a nice softness to it, but still is fresh, still has a little bit of seriousness to it. You know, it's not all comedy. You know, it's got a couple of serious notes in there. It's got some structure. I mean, it's not loosey-goosey, it's not flabby, it's not jammy. It gets close to jammy, and I don't think, I was looking at the alcohol contents on these, and this is only 13.5, so the alcohol content is good. And I'm not a big guy I don't look at ABV, alcohol by volume. That doesn't mean anything. You see, I have a really good friend, love him to death, but the first thing he does is look at the alcohol content. I try to tell him, look, you first off taste it. Alcohol does not mean anything. There's winemakers that can take a wine that's 15% and you never know it's there. Alcohol comes through on the throat, the nose, the nasal capacity. It doesn't show any, but you can't mistake juicy fruit. I know you have to have a little higher alcohol to get that fruit to it, but that's not always the case. And in this, of course, they can wiggle percentage. So this is a really delicious cab. It's not my style of cab necessarily, but you could definitely drink this all day. I mean, it's really good. I'm going to give it a B-. I can't go down in the sea level because I think the sea level, you like that? Can't go to sea level, even though I'm living at sea level. No, I mean, I can't go C+ because it is just delicious. I mean, it really is well-made cab. I don't get any fakiness in it. I don't get any cosmetics. I just think it's a well-made cab. A lot of people are going to love it. I'm going B-. Let's move on. 2. Nugan Estate, 3rd generation Cabernet Sauvignon, 2011, from Australia. And it says in the back, southeastern Australia. So Nugan has a Vision series. They have this 3rd generation series. And this goes for $10. So another one of those value-driven wines from Australia. And I feel so bad for Australia. I mean, in my wine department, Australian wines have tanked, and they keep tanking. It isn't getting any better. The only thing I really sell a lot of are the cheap Jacob's Creek, Lindemans, well, even Yellowtail slowed down quite a bit. And it's really sad because there are some really, really fantastic Australian wines, and I hope they find a way to really get out of that hole and remarket themselves with maybe something other than inexpensive Shiraz. So let's see what we're getting on the nose. Well, this is definitely a very interesting nose. Got currants. I get this little, like, almost a eucalyptus aromas out of this. I definitely get a leather, currant, like leather soaked in currant juice sort of thing going on with a little bit of eucalyptus, maybe even that Vicks Vapor Rub I don't know what generation you can, but I'll never forget my mom when I was sick coming in and wiping that Vicks Vapor Rub underneath my nose and on my chest. And I don't know if it helped, but I never really, I let her do it, but I never really enjoyed it. It always bothered me. I'm getting a little bit of earthiness on this. It's a very interesting nose. I mean, I'm liking the nose on this. I like the aromas. They're very interesting. Definitely a lot of leather. Definitely currant. A little bit of earth and that menthol rub thing going on. Let's see what we get on the palate. First thing I thought of was cherry cola. That's the first thing that hit me. This is a very simple cab. There isn't a lot going on. Let me give it another try. Definitely cherry cola all the way, front to back. It has some expansion on the mid palate. It has a delicious factor to it. It has this kind of interesting finish of, it gets a little bit like minerality to it, which I find quite interesting. It almost goes funkified on the finish. It's not out of whack. It's not disjointed. It just is cherry cola. That's really what I'm getting out of this. It has no complexity really. I mean, that's it. Cherry cola, a little bit of spice on the back end, some minerality, and then nothing else. It does, the finish hangs around a little bit. Some people might like this cab. You know, it's okay. It's not my favorite. I'm going to go C on this one. I like the Calina a little bit better only because of the delicious factor. In fact, excuse me, I just want to, I'm not even, yeah, I'm going to rinse just real quickly there. Just kind of compare them side by side real quickly. Yeah, there's definitely more depth to the Calina. It's a deeper wine. It's got more intensity to it. Yeah, C, B minus. Let's move on. Now we're going to Napa Valley, the home of the killer cabs. Some people, that's all they'll drink is cabs from Napa Valley. I always like to find a cab from Napa that isn't like in the ultra price range, like well, we won't even go Screaming Eagle, Colgin, Harlan, all those big guys. But I mean, even like Silver Oak, Freemark Abbey, those kind of guys, Stag's Leap, those are all very expensive. This is First Press, Napa Valley, Cabernet Sauvignon. It rolls in at $17. So for a cab from Napa, that could be, let's say could be, a good value. Let's see what we get on the nose. 85% of wine appreciation comes from smelling the wine. We have so much more capacity to catch different aromas than we do flavors. There's only five, isn't it? Salt, sweet, sour, bitter, salt, sweet, sour. Anyway, only very little taste buds, a lot of capability in the olfactory realm. So, just, you know, I'm just beating a dead horse here. keep smelling your wine. It will enhance your wine tasting experience. So let's see what we get on the nose here. A lot of tobacco, currant, getting just a hit of a burn on the nose, which would mean perhaps more alcohol. It's got a very like deep, you know, you can tell there's things underneath there. There's layers to the nose. Getting a little bark, kind of a beauty bark element. Tobacco, if I didn't mention that already. Let's see what we get on the palate. Good, rich, dark fruit up front. Loads of currants. I get an underlying black cherry. A lot of dark fruit. Fairly deep. It's definitely got a nice flow. It's good balance. And at the very end, you get that nice grippy kind of, you know, wood tannin, fruit tannin sort of thing going on the backside. Telling you, hey, yeah, I might be a smooth dude, but watch out. I got some muscle. I got some muscle back there. So it's pretty grippy on the backside, but not terrible. I think if you had some food with this, that would polish out that grip a little bit. You know, it's for $17, 2010 cab. I think it's a good play. I mean, it's a good value, and that's always what I'm looking for. Okay, for $17, what are you getting? Well, you're getting some delicious, you're getting some structure, you're getting, you know, a little bit of a seriousness on the backside. This would be a great cab with a piece of grilled meat, something with a little bit of, you know, those meat spices to it. It's got some tobacco going on. You know, I like a cab that shows that kind of attitude towards the end, but at the same time it has good balance across the palate. $17, that's a good play. I'm going to have to go A- on this one. B+, A-. I think it's a really good value. First press, Napa Valley cab. First time I've ever had it. I like it. And that will definitely, yeah, I'll have to play with that at the store, because I think that's a good cab for $17. Let's move on to the next one. I just signed up for the first level of the sommelier or master sommelier class. I watched Somm a couple of times, and I just thought it was so intriguing to me. I don't even care about the sommelier title. I mean, I care for these guys. I mean, obviously it's amazing that they made it to where they did, but just the deductive tasting method and all that sort of thing, and that understanding a lot of the different aspects of wine, I thought this would be a good way for me to just kind of get, you know, a little extra excitement in there, a little extra understanding of how these guys break down these wines. You know, any little bit can help, right? So I'm getting excited about that. That's next month. I printed out the workbook. Look at this baby. I don't know if you can see that. Look at all that. That's the workbook. I got about a month to go through that and check it out. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be fun. Just a nice experience. I hope to learn a lot. That's the reason I'm going. So the wine I just poured is Alder Ridge 2011 Cabernet Sauvignon, Horse Heaven Hills, Washington. This one is a little bit more money. It's $30. Take a look at the label. Alder Ridge is a famous vineyard in the Horseheaven Hills, and this is the actual winery, Alder Ridge Vineyards. They sell off some of their fruit to other wineries. $30. Now you're talking a little more serious. You're looking for a little bit more in the wine. Right off the bat, I love the nose on this. It's got this like beautiful like beauty bark, rose petals, tobacco, cherries, currants, all coming out. It's very perfumed. It's got that wonderful cedar tones to it. This is the kind of cab this is one of the reasons I love like the Horseheaven Hills, Red Mountain areas of Washington State. They're so expressive on the nose, so many different avenues that you don't get in other areas of the world. You get those in Bordeaux, shows a lot of feminine qualities like that. So very earthy, but at the same time the fruit comes through. I'm loving, seriously, the nose on this is incredible. I wish you could be here with me smelling it. That would be exciting. We could talk about it. You know, that's what I would like to do. Really, I wish you guys could be here, but you're not. So I'm just going to try my best to help you appreciate what's in this bottle. Let's see what's on the palate. Take what you got in the first press and amp it up about 4 times. Big, big, big ripe currants on this. A lot of spice. I get like a spice box, sort of baking spices, which obviously come from the oak, on the mid palate into the finish. It never goes ramped up. I don't get heat on this wine at all. A classic example of a wine that I think I read this was 14.5% alcohol. Yes, 14.5. I know a guy that I just talked about that wouldn't even look at it. He'd be missing out. Now, granted, he doesn't necessarily like this style of cab either. It might be too much fruit for some people. I'll give you that right now. It might be just right for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to like this wine. It delivers the richness, the decadence that you would expect for $30. You wouldn't be disappointed in spending that much money on this bottle of wine if that's the style you like. It has that nice spiciness on the back end. It has a fairly long finish. It's not the longest finish I've ever had, but it's still lingering around. And it gets a little bit of a minerality on the backside, which is interesting. So it doesn't stay like, it never goes goopy, it never goes flabby. It's got a nice freshness to it. You know, I think it's definitely a 10 in the delicious factor. Even has a little interesting, I bet, you know, if this was open up just a little bit longer, it'd show a little bit more character. I'm going to try it in about another hour just to see where it goes. But I'm thinking a lot of people are going to like this. I'm going to give it an A- also. I'm not going A on it because I think the fruit is just a little too big for a cab. But that being said, it has nice balance, it has structure, it doesn't go jammy. It just is, I mean, there's some really seriously good fruit in this bottle of wine. So, you know, all of them were different, all from all different parts of the world. They all have, of course, you know, the typical characteristics of a cab. But, you know, we had one from Chile, one from Australia, one from Cali, and one from Washington. So it's been kind of fun. So hopefully you're enjoying these episodes. I'd like you to make a comment. If you don't mind, just tell me how you're enjoying these. If you're enjoying them, I see I'm getting more and more people watching them, which is exciting to me. I want to be able to help people understand wine and to understand their palate. So, cheers, and here's to keeping the snob out of wine. See you tomorrow.